If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So let's create a 16 voice chorus on the Fractal VP4. We'll just backpedal for a second. You can use the multi-tap delay to create a really lush 4-voice chorus. In fact, there is a factory type called Chorus MTD that I've got on at the moment that at its default settings is a fantastic sounding 4-voice chorus. I will let you hear it to get started. Super lush sounding, and the config page here gives you some really straightforward controls. You can change the chorus rate, depth, and time on there without having to deep dive in the multi-tap delay block. If you want to deep dive, you can use Expert Edit, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But I really like the overall rate in there. I might turn the depth up a little bit and play around with the overall time on there just to get a slightly different character out of it. The shorter times on there sound a bit tighter and more focused, whereas having the time up above 50% to me sounds a little more like an old school analog chorus. So we've got those 4 voices in there, but we can run 4 multi-tap delays in parallel in the VP4 in any preset. And you can see the CPU is not suffering at the moment. It can handle this with aplomb. So let's basically just take this chorus MTD setting, which I've got loaded in at the stock settings in each of these, and let's just tweak the rate, depth, and time a little bit. I quite like where that is at the moment. Let's just offset them. Like I'm going to turn the rate up and the time up on this one, so it's a little more wobbly. I'm going to turn the rate down and the time down, so it's a little tighter on there. And let's do this. Let's turn the rate down and the depth up on this one and just leave the time at 50%. Let's have a listen to what happens when I introduce each of these. In fact, we'll start from the bypassed tone on here. And again, this lovely E minor add 9 chord for your kind of Queensryche Whitesnake vibes. That sounds so epic. It is super wide sounding. There's this wonderful blend between the slower rates and the higher rates in there. It's just a very complex, satisfying sound. I should mention as well, because I'm running all of these in parallel, I do have Kill Dry enabled on all of them. And I'm actually running the VP4 in a parallel loop of my Axe effects. Having said that though, let's hear it with some dirt now. Same vibe. Oh, that is so satisfying to play. What I've done on the other scenes here is I basically used the other channels in the multi-tap delay to dial in some slightly different settings. So scene 2 I have called tighter. You can see I'm using a lower time and lower rates across all of this. Let's have a listen to scene 1 basic versus scene 2 tighter. Then we'll go to this spread setting where I've got into expert edit and I've actually played around with the panning for each voice. So every single one of these delay lines that is being modulated is panned somewhere different in the stereo spectrum. And then for scene 4, I've gone through and basically just plugged in a bunch of delay times, chorus rates, and depths that have the golden ratio relationship between them. Let's just hear the difference between each of those. Now, I'm not sure if it's because I was able to set up the basic 16 voice chorus faster, hence I'm more satisfied with it, or if I actually just genuinely like it more. But those settings work fantastic, and that is a great way to get a 16 voice chorus set up. Another way to do it is to use the Alan H. Short settings across all of these. So these are based on some settings from the Yamaha UD Stomp that Alan Holdsworth programmed, and shout out to the legend that is Simeon Harris for programming those settings into the multi-tap delay block. They've been included as factory type. So basically, you take the Holdsworth short delays in here. I've just tweaked the times so they're all really short on there and played around with the chorus amount. But this also sounds super lush and equally as satisfying. You could go for super short times and add a bunch of feedback and get a 16 voice flanger. If that's something you really wanted to do, we're going to have to hear it, aren't we? So cranking up the feedback does give you a flanger style sound on there. It's a lot of work to go to. I think I just prefer the sound of like the Electric Mistress model on there for a traditional flanger, but cranking up the feedback really low times and then turning up the diffusion and the chorus gives you a really cool modulated reverb sort of sound on there. That reminds me of some old 80s rack units, like say the Roland VP4. There's this sort of metallic, almost grainy quality to it that isn't perfect, but it has character. And I think that's the whole point of this. Why go to all this length when you can just bring up a chorus or bring up a flanger block? Great point. These stock chorus types and the stock flangers sound amazing. And I think for most things most people want to do, they work great. Like just chuck the Dimension chorus on and be happy would be some of my advice. But, you know, if you are going to go in and you want to play around with multi-voice chorus, you can create patches like this that are so lush. So I don't want to use the term organic sounding, but they're complex in a really good, satisfying way. The way, I don't know, a good dessert or a good cup of coffee can be complex and satisfying. Yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had with this. The VP4 is so powerful. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's so much more than just a unit that can run 4 effects at the same time. You can do some really creative sound design things like this, or you can do really simple stuff and replace a traditional pedal board. It's pretty awesome. I might play you all out with some more of these kind of 16 voice chorus diffusion reverb things. I don't know. It's pretty fun. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments section below. If you like what I'm doing on the channel, links to my Patreon and the music that I make with my band Ragdoll. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.